Oh, there we go. Well, not much time has passed, but might as well. Alright, since last time things went a bit eclectic, let's check out the spoils of our victory, the soul of the Dragon's Lair armor. The Dragon's Lair armor, controlled by the Pilgrim Butterfly, lost its master long ago, but still remembers their sporting hunts. If you don't want to know, the Pilgrim Butterflies are these things, the ones that I mentioned. There you go, last part, which are basically a final stage of evolution from the pilgrims, the guys that we saw at the very beginning of the game that were pilgriming towards the Lothric castle. Apparently the effects of the eclipse, is doing something, a metamorphosis of sort, and becoming like this. Speaking of familiar faces, it takes a bit of memory towards the first game, but man, these statues look a bit familiar. I wonder. I'll mention more towards the end of the game. Anyway, let's move on. There's nothing here, if I recall correctly, not even an item, so let's just move on. Specifically, there's literally another bonfire right here. I have no idea why they placed them so near each other, but whatever. Sure.
I mean, an echo adds to the atmosphere. We're in a big cavernous place.
Try friend. And we see a corpse here, which is from Gotthard, the Black Hand swordsman that has helped us in the past, which gives us his twin swords and the Grand Archives keys. Visions of Champion. Oh.
I don't think you'll mind much.
Let's check what he just gave us, why not? First of all, the key, the Grand Archives. Key to the main entrance to the Grand Archives of Lothric. With the fire fading and the spreading pus of man tainting the castle, the Grand Archives closed its doors for good. Today only a few of its keys remains. This one likely belonged to Gotthard, one of the king's black hands who fled the castle. And when it comes to the twin swords, there you go. The hunters known as the King's Black Hands wielded paired weapons. These belonged to Gotthard, who fled the castle. Gotthard rose quickly through the knighthood, no surprise to those who have witnessed his swordsmanship, which basically allows some, skulldaggery type of maneuver. One that makes you wonder how did he die, but it literally gave us the key to move on literally to the next dungeon, because otherwise we will not be able to enter. It's clearly just put there as a set piece, because the entrance is literally here. Of the teacher Grand Archives. Check this out. This is not a regular library, but a haunted library. Ooh.
Spooky.
Ooh, so many crisp books. Gimme.
Forbidden knowledge, yeah. Don't you just hate it when someone actually used the Return to Sender kind of option to books of a library and puts the Necronomicon ex mortis? Alright, there are a couple of gimmicks to be had, and as you can see, there is a Crystal Sage here that loves to be an asshole, so first order mission is to track him down. So in the meantime, Dweebs, please tell us if you've seen anything recently.
Today I saw Final Destination Bloodlines. It just came out not too long ago at the time of recording.
Mm-hmm. I remember.
I enjoyed it.
Remind me again, Dweebs, before seeing it, how much of the franchise did you experience?
I saw the first movie.
Only that? Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, from what I can gather, Final Destination isn't exactly a series in which you need to have seen all the films to get it.
There is some layer of continuity, but in the same way that, say, Friday the 13th will have.
Yeah, like in terms of consistent characters, I think the only one is really
played by Tony Todd, yes.
Tony Todd's character.
And this is basically a send-off, so...
Yeah, and I won't spoil anything, but I do think they handled it well, because when they filmed it, he knew he didn't have long left. So he was given complete creative control over his scene.
Good enough.
Yeah, and so he gets to... Yeah, I won't spoil it.
Yeah. To do something at the very least. Let me see.
We know the deal with those movies.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I will say, I've seen the first movie. I know Death can be a dickhead, but damn, he was on fire
The entire
with
point, the
Bloodlines.
entire point of a franchise is that people are aware of their deaths and they want to figure out a way to escape, which, let's just say most of the time, because I don't know how much is the ratio, they don't succeed. It can add a bit of a frustration element to it because you spend the entire movie hoping that these people will get away somehow, even if they can potentially be your classic dickhead teenagers, you know. But still in a way to actually, you know, managing to reward their efforts and then just fuck shit up at the very end, even against basically their will. Again, if you enjoyed the kind of typical slasher movies, you shouldn't have problems with that. But otherwise, you know, I wouldn't blame you if you find that frustrating. Anyway, new enemy
Well,
type,
after seeing
these
the other movies, yeah.
handsome guys with little wax on their heads. Okay, we were talking about Final Destination, but I guess this is more in tune with House of Wax. Have you seen any of the movies, Lives?
What movie, sorry?
House of Wax. There is the 30s version, the
no,
50s version
no.
with Vincent Price, and the 2005 version, which really tries to overcompensate and has among its cast Paris Hilton in not her most flattering role, I will say.
No, I haven't seen any of them.
I mean, I still say that you should give them a watch in general, you know, just to give you get you an idea, because as a horror concept, it's not too bad, and Vincent Price is always a treat to witness and listen. But what we can do is to dunk our head in the wax to get a wax head for ourselves. Why would we do such a thing? Trust me, it's not apparent now, but it will be a gimmick later, and don't worry, the wax wears off after a bit, so we will get our pizza hat soon enough, you know, don't worry. Anyway, to play a different game, while we're at it, since the other day instead I went at a con, there have been actually quite a lot of cosplayers, and I was very impressed with the variety, because otherwise, for a long time it has been usually the usual same for a long time, as in Naruto's Akatsuki group or someone from Bleach, which again, nothing technically wrong, but it was reflecting of a time where, you know, the fandoms were consumed by the teenagers at the time, and the scarcity of, unfortunately, you know, material and tutorials for cosplayer purposes. While these days, instead, there's more variety because there are more options available and help on the internet. So it's pretty cool. So let's play a little game while we're traversing this haunted library. Tell me a franchise, and I will tell you if there was a cosplayer of that or not. Please, you start. Tell me a franchise, you know, any franchise, not just anime or manga.
Resident Evil?
Yes, actually. Not a lot, but there were a Leon and Ada from from 4. Either version, because the costumes did not change that much between the original and the remake. I haven't seen that much else, but, you know, there was at least something. What about you, Shiroi?
Animal Crossing.
No, actually, that actually surprised me because...
Really? I usually see like an Isabelle or two when I go to con.
Yeah, and I know that the franchise is known in my country, but I guess when it comes to making a fursuit or something, they just prioritized other franchises, like,
Yeah.
as you can imagine, a lot of this busy pop stuff, so...
Oh, yes.
It also did pretty well. There was someone dressed as Adam that I already had noticed a while. Oh, there you go. There's the gimmick. There are these hands that pop out of the cursed books. Yes, you were right on point, Shiroi. And the wax protect us from the effect. Otherwise, they will inflict us curse just by standing nearby. Where was I? No, but no, not Animal Crossing, unfortunately. Lives, try again.
Final Fantasy?
Okay, you gotta be a bit more specific because thankfully there was variety.
10.
Yes, actually, there was someone dressed as Jacked, believe it or not. A really good, actually impressive type of cosplay, so I actually recommend that. And considering there isn't much talk about it, you can tell the passion behind it, so I appreciate, you know, what the guy did. It was also to boot. Oh, okay, here we go. Let me pull up a torch. It cannot be seen that much, let's see. Alright, here's another edition of Is That a Mimic?
Ooh, okay.
Let me just
I
pull
can't
up
see the chain.
Yeah, let me just pull it up here again. Well, that's because of a rubble dweebs, so you need to take a shot in the dark. So tell me what your heart feels.
I think it's real because it's curving there.
Shiroi?
This isn't a mimic.
Okay, let's give it a try then. Ding ding ding, correct. Which contains witch's locks. Okay, I guess we have looted someone's fetish goon cave or something. What the hell? I forgot actually what kind of item is that. Let me see. No, it's not an accessory. It was labeled as a consumable, so maybe a key item? No. Maybe it's a catalyst? No, the crystal trine, we got it previously. Whatever, I'll check in between parts and, you know, see the result. It's still weird as shit, though. Alright, where was I? Okay, you say Final Fantasy. Okay, this freebie, I can actually give it to you. There was someone, Esudo which was someone particularly jacked that had the physique actually to go with it, and it was quite the Chad actually to go with the cosplay. So it was quite impressive, and you know, a lot of people are appreciating him. That was actually not too bad. Alright, Shiroi, what about your second attempt?
Ace Attorney?
Yes, there was an Apollo Dweebs, believe it or not.
Wow, an Ace Attorney cosplay past the first three. Great.
Yeah, there was one Phoenix, but from what I understand, that was his more updated outfit for the Dual Destiny Spirit of Justice duology, as far as I know.
It's a good outfit.
It's not too much different anyway.
Yeah. He just kind of adds like a waistcoat situation.
No, I don't think there was a Trucy, but I was mistaken with someone else. Go. Yeah, another cool thing to distinguish these enemies is that the ones which have a flame on top of their heads are technically more powerful and cast pyromancy flames. One instead, the regular ones just move into attack with their daggers. Thankfully, there you go, I locked the shortcut. Thankfully, the sword that I have is good enough to circle around them and stagger them, you know, efficiently, but you still need to watch out. Yeah, the place is also full of crystal lizards to give you loot and stuff. In that case, Dweebs, go on, tell me your third attempt, why not?
I don't know. Thomas the Tank Engine.
No, sorry, Dweebs. Apologies.
You know, someone might have gone as the back controller or somebody.
I don't remember if my country calls him like that or Sir Top and Hat. I'll need to check because, you know, I did not grow up with the franchise. There you go. What about you, Shiroi?
Well, for another guess?
Yeah. Don't think of just video games, but also, you know, anime or movies, whatever, you know, you may think.
Oh, okay. Okay, unfortunately, this is the last anime I watched in full. Danganronpa?
No, actually, I don't think so. I know
Damn.
that the franchise is known, I think, but I don't think they actually there were around the area.
That's funny considering at a Pride event I went to this week, there was a Junko there.
The cool thing is that there were people not in cosplay, but they still, had no problem displaying pride flags of different kinds. Like there was a group for Ace. Actually, that was pretty neat.
Yeah.
Again, it serves also to be a bit of a reassurance for my country because a lot of the time I do believe that maybe, a lot of things are a bit of a lost cause, but thankfully there is still a percentage of, people who are actually trying to keep the flame alive.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. I can tell that I even seen. Oh shit! I do not have the wax head anymore. Give me just a second. There you go. There were two people. One as Pearl, as in Steven Universe Pearl, mind you, and one as Amethyst, I think. But I did not pay too much attention to them, and I was surprised from the fact that there weren't. As much as Steven Universe cosplayers, even though, like I said, there was enough of a variety that I could have suspected there could have been more. Alright, let's see. Oh yeah, there's another ice knight in this, so no, we're not doing that. Let's see. Do I go against the Crystal Sage or not? I can just go down here if I want. Shite. Shriving Stone. Okay. Alright, let's deal with the Crystal Sages, hopefully. I don't remember if it was here in the vanilla version or was added during one of the updates that included the DLC, because I don't remember finding him in my very first run. But otherwise, it provides a good set piece that you have to chase him throughout the entire level. This is something that would be repeated in Elden Ring, in one of its dungeons. And again, the thing that I was saying that some of the dungeons felt a bit too short, in comparison, this one does feel legitimately long enough to justify, its presence, so that's pretty neat. Alright, if I recall correctly, this unlocks a shortcut. Yes, it does. There you go. Right at the entrance, so even if we die, we actually can return these easily.
So you enjoyed the con, I'm guessing?
Yes, actually. I even got, I was saying that to the others of commentary, I did got even something for my own in the form of the Nier Automata prequel, which is a 4-issue, well, technically, I think like 16 chapters in total, but basically divided in 4 issues that talks about the backstory of A2, which is told, if I recall correctly, only in text in the game, but instead this is it's properly told what actually happened to her. So it's not one of those cases where it's an adaptation with an alternate continuity, but properly tied to the main story.
I have a con in a week, so
Okay.
at the time of this recording.
Oh, okay. In case you're wondering, here, because I knew you probably would have wondered. In terms of Splatoon cosplayers, I did saw one Agent 3, but that was kinda it. I was hoping to see
Right.
at least one type of Yaddle. Maybe they were actually today, because the con was in 2 days, and I did only experience one. But who knows? Because again, a lot of people chooses to specifically do one of the 2 days instead of maybe potentially both.
Yeah, I usually run into a lot of Splatoon cosplays.
I can imagine, again, it also depends on the region variety, because I can tell that Splatoon is relatively known. Again, Nintendo tends to have a good chunk of fans here by default, and it includes, you know, oh, this is a treat for you, Dweebs, instead. There was someone technically as Pikachu, but here's the thing. Okay, imagine the Stig from Top Gear.
Yeah.
But the entirety of his body, including the helmet, it's a fuzzy Pikachu suit.
I guess that's one way to
that's
get
how
around
the cosplay was.
Okay.
I love it when people do stuff like that, honestly.
Yeah. It has been also recurring that there's the classic person with the inflatable T-Rex outfit. That's always a classic.
One of my friends is usually in one of those, actually.
Can also tell that they finally stopped promoting instead let's just say the funny face, you know, hoodies, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Because I had seen them for a while and was like, wow, they were still going, but thankfully now they stopped. Okay, let me see, because there was an enemy in a previous area, but there was also a chest, so I wanted to have another round while we're at it.
There was not a franchise or anything like that, but this is the kind of cosplay I always look out for, because there's always one hidden in the crowd. Do you have anybody at your cons who cosplay memes? Just straight up memes.
There were, at least some years ago, I know what you're talking about, but no, the closest I can tell you is that there are still people going around with the free hugs sign, despite everything. So, and despite even post-COVID, so they actually kept that instead alive. But no, but I do know what you're talking about. I do remember some people doing that a couple of years ago. Anyway, Dweebs.
Like one we saw was the butterfly meme.
Dweebs. Another chest, another round. Is that a mimic?
No.
Surely.
Nope.
Alright, here we go then. Let's go again. Correct! And instead is Titan Ice Chaos. We technically don't need them anymore, but they're always useful. I might want to train another weapon just for funsies to see what an alternative would be like, but this one is just, you know, so efficient that I tend to over-rely a bit on it. Alright, now we're back on the outskirts of Lothric Castle. Basically, we spend a bit of time on the exterior to get inside back in the archives from a different place. So it's like that. It's also worth mentioning that, which something that unfortunately did not happen to us, but if we had managed to make it work with Grey Rat's side quest, his body would have been found eventually here. Unfortunately, I screwed up, possibly missed the timing and everything, and unfortunately he perished while he was searching through the Iritil of Boreal Valley, unfortunately. But if he had still been alive, his final mission would have been actually trying to retrieve items from here, from Lothric Castle, and instead unfortunately would have perished and we would have found it here. Again, his questline is done so that he cannot have an happy ending, unfortunately. If he goes actually to investigate items, he will perish, and the trade-off is that he will gain what he was pillaging for. So his sacrifice will not be technically in vain. Tiny chunks. Fuck.
I like it when people cosplay objects. Like you get people. I've back when it was a lot more hyped up, because I know it has still like a strong player base, but there were people cosplaying Pokestops.
Oh, okay.
And I like it when some people's whole cosplay is just them in a regular outfit, but they have the Sim Diamond on their head.
Yeah. Okay, there weren't this time around, but there were some, you know, the previous one I went back in February. So I know what you're talking about. Alright, let's see what this guy on this chair had. The Undead Bone Shard, which actually helps us with our Estus flasks.
Someone cosplayed the vending machine from that one anime.
Okay.
Also, somebody had a whole Papers, Please booth once.
There was someone as a youngster Joy, actually, so complete with wanting to explain what's the deal with this top percentage Ratata. So. Go.
I just like the quirky little cosplays like that. They're fun.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're actually not too far from the end of a dungeon, but if I recall correctly, we're about to deal with more NPCs, and I don't think we're completely ready for them, but alas, we gotta try.
Alright.
It actually has a couple of striking imagery, like this statue that is almost molten, even though it shouldn't be via stone, so maybe it is a recreation of the kills in the first flame. Again, there is some neat concept arts that get turned into the actual level design that is not too bad. And these are Black Hands soldiers, the ones similar to the ones of Gothard that did help us, but these ones are hostile because they serve to protect Prince Lothric. So one of them is actually having the Jugo moves. Oh shit! The Jugo armor set from the Dark Souls 2. Again, it's still. Fuck! I forgot they also have a sorcerer. Well, again, thankfully we have unlocked enough shortcuts so that our journey up here shouldn't be too much of a hassle. Remind me again, Dweebs, because I think you mentioned it 2 parts ago, but have there been updates on movies that you're going to see soon enough?
Well, there's the new Mission Impossible.
Right.
My mom's excited for that.
From what I can tell, reactions to it have been pretty half and half.
Well, if I recall correctly, wasn't that the same also for its part 1 equivalent? I know that they decided to call them different names, but...
it was, yeah.
Unfortunately. Again, like I said, that makes me wonder what Paramount is going to do afterward, because it's clear to me they probably won't let go of the franchise. Obviously, just, about Tom Cruise.
Well, unless it flops.
Well, again, who knows? Maybe they will try a new series like its roots.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, that's only time will tell. Oh, instead, by the time we're recording this, I have to sadly see for myself the Minecraft movie, because me and Deji are gonna have a discussion videos a few days from now. So pray
I
for
saw his
me.
brief thoughts of that, so I'll watch it eventually.
Don't even remember what company technically was behind it.
Warner Brothers.
I could swear it was Universal, but
Nah, still
Mandela effect. No, it's not here. To move. Oh yeah, in the meantime, might as well also mention, I also changed my shield to the Grass Crest one because it has the same effect it had in Dark Souls 1, as in more boost to the recovery of stamina, so might as well. Again, in terms of stat, I really don't have too much. Upgrading it will not make too much of a difference unless it's, upgrade to the HP or stamina bar. Otherwise, again, I don't really have much more to do. Alright, see if I can target the sorcerer first. Oh, fuck. I got parried.
Oh no.
Thankfully, the sorcerer doesn't seem to be the type to... Let's see. There you go. Sorcerer down. Let's then... No, no more Estus for it. Oh shit. Yeah, some of the katanas do have that jumping attack effect that would be referenced in Sekiro properly. Speaking of which, I think I mentioned that in the past, but that one really won't be a stream type of potential recording, but just a more straightforward one because of its type of nature. Sure, the difficulty is still there, but considering its structure and that the fact that it has a more clear story with a defined protagonist, it's for the better. Golden Wing, Crest Shield. We got the Katana combo, Katanuji Katana combo from the other Black Hand, and from the Sorcerer we get the Sage Crystal Staff. But with this, if I recall correctly, we also unlock a shortcut that leads us back to the entrance of the Grand Archives, meaning that if we die we can just literally skip the entire dungeon. There is some minor loots that we haven't checked, but might as well, because we are at a good point. What a lovely head. How does my character even breathe with that?
He doesn't.
They just cope with it.
Again, to be fair, considering I guess we're supposed to, because we are undead, that doesn't really matter, but it just raises too many questions. Alright, before moving forward, let's take the stairs again. Gorgeous view with the eclipse, because if I recall correctly, this is an optional small bit that allows us to get to the cage of the person that was referenced in one item description. Although if I recall correctly, there are some angel guards that are guarding the cage itself. Let's give it a look-see. Okay, if I remember correctly, if I get here, they do not necessarily attack me. We get the Hunter's Ring, which I don't really need it. Yeah, they did drop down, but I dropped down here. Wow, this really was pointless. Okay. Okay, there you go. There you go. There they are, the Angel Guards. Although these one are more business because their armor is gold, of course. Which also means a fuck ton more else. But yeah, no, I'm not dealing with you. Sorry. Bye. At the end here, let's see what's this. Praise the sun. Ah, we get an Estus shard. Yes, that means we can upgrade our Estus flask combo and potency combo. Ah, to get from the other side. Go. Also, another thing that we didn't really mention in the meantime, the fact that GTA 6 got delayed, meaning that it makes wonder what essentially is gonna fill in the power vacuum.
Other games within GTA 6's demographic, I should assume.
Well, not necessarily that. I was talking more about... Oh shit, let me get down here. Basically, there you go. This is the cage where we were in. In fact, the Angel Guard cannot actually reach us, but... ouch. Spoke too soon. We get Divine Pillars of Light, which is another miracle, if I recall correctly. And now we need to walk a bit around again the there you go, this place. Well, if I recall correctly, we are infested by some of the cathedral slugs. Blessed gem. If I recall correctly, yeah, Elden Ring does have another dungeon very similar to this, where you need to walk up with these and then calculate the trajectory to move down. Cue the goofy yelling scream. Thankfully, there was no Cedric the Owl to tell, naughty you don't.
Yeah, for those who don't know, I was referencing the death music that you get when you fall down in the Family Maker King's Quest 3.
Mm-hmm.
Which is literally the Inspector Gadget theme.
Miracle of Gertrude, the Heavenly Daughter, brings down multiple pillars of light in vicinity. This is the attack that the angel guards are using. The Queen's holy maiden Gertrude was visited by an angel who revealed this tale to her. Despite losing both her sight and her voice, she was determined to record the tale. Ordinary men cannot decipher her fragmentary scroll, nor comprehend how it became the foundation of the angelic faith of Lothric. Funny enough, there is a, not necessarily Souls-like game, but something akin to that, takes the prep of something similar to this and combines that with the religious zealotry of medieval Spain after the Reconquista, which is called Blasphemous, which I did enjoy pretty a lot the first game, and I still need to play the second, which uses a more pixelated art style, more similar to, say, something like games like Another World, but it's still pretty neat. I really do dig the art style. I'll probably give it a look in a proper recording format in the future, but I'll have to see in what format, because all of the structure really is Souls-like. Alright, let's move forward. I can live without the souls that I left. Especially because this is a bit of a treat for Souls-like fans in general, because this section in particular is reminiscent of the very first level of Demon Souls. Again, this is Hidetaka Miyazaki doing basically all of the callbacks that he wants. Specifically in that game, because again I don't know if we were ever gonna cover it at this point, unless it finally gets ported on PC, in that case maybe. The Kingdom of Boletaria, the fictional Kingdom of Boletaria, is actually besieged by a fog that actually turns everyone into either a demon, a zombie, or another type of creature, and the few survivors are to scatter into a solace place called the Nexus, with a maiden in black being their guidance. And your chosen undead in that case has to travel Boletaria, capturing the titular demon souls, in order to placate the being that actually brought forth the fog, the old one, as it's called. Ouch.
Yeah.
Yes.
If we're getting a remaster of fucking Bubsy, everything should be on the table.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time.
This is why I have it. This is why I have faith in obscure projects.
Well, yeah, that's also what I said to... Well, okay, by the time we're publishing this, it's not said, but one thing that I constantly told to Pedro in regards to a third The World Ends With You, even if it might not contain the key people behind it, it probably will still happen eventually in the future. Again, it's also a thing that needed to be witnessed on the screen, but the Square Enix of 10 years ago was basically a barren wasteland when it came to boasting their IPs. And every time I read a comment these days where they're like, oh no, Square is not caring about, boasting their IPs and focusing on the same 2-3 ones, I really wish I was blessed with that kind of ignorance.
God, it's like they're like Sega fans. They're not focused on this one franchise that I like. Ruined forever.
Like, I still remember
play other games.
Play another game. It's like that type of copy pasta. There was a time where, I still remember a time where Phantasy Star 2 had not been translated yet, and people were desperate for it. Alright, should I beeline with all these soldiers and knights? Ow.
Speaking of games, if we have the
go on.
time, I'm not very far into the demo because this game is on like the more expensive side of things, and the demo is actually quite extensive. But I've been playing the 100 line.
Oh right, is that like
not bad actually?
the game with the creator of Danganronpa did after he left.
Yeah, Kodaka and Uchikoshi for Zero Escape. It's actually pretty good. You do get a lot of Kodakaisms.
Yeah.
But toned down enough, I feel, and also gameplay that I didn't expect at all, and I don't know how good I am at it.
Hundred Line. That sounds like a drug movie. Yeah.
I mean, there are 100 endings, so you have to be pretty high to get through it.
Oh boy. I wonder if someone's going to be crazy enough to do a marathon going for every single ending. What was the game called again?
Oh, somebody will.
I'm pretty sure there's an achievement for obtaining all of them.
But yeah, it's actually pretty good so far. The demo is like 7 days.
The achievement will probably call, don't you have anything else to do with your time?
Don't you have anything better to do?
When it comes to considering one of the other major creators is the one from the Nonary games, I'm gonna say no.
And also, because it's been a bit, Higurashi update, we just finished Sumi Horoboshi.
Yeah, it's not...
Christ.
Yeah, you're not... It's not gonna be
Rena's my favorite
long.
character, and this was hours of pain.
Trust me, the payoff will definitely be worth it, because again, that's the entire basically point of Higurashi, that you're building this mystery up to a boiling point. Alright, I guess we can actually give it a try to the bosses. We're close enough with the shortcuts unlocked. I don't remember if it has a demo out yet, but I know that the price is a bit discouraging, but when it does get a sale, as I mentioned in regards to when it was announced at the Nintendo Direct, I really suggest to try the Raido Kuzunoha remaster, because basically, if you're one of the people that enjoy Atlus games, but wish they were actionized instead of actually being turn-based, that's the game for you. Because that's basically the Shin Megami Tensei spin-off that wants to take things into a more action approach, and this remaster basically fixes a lot of the core problems that the original had, as in difficulty options, everything is voiced, and there's more a variety of demos and storylines, and there are more mobility options so that everything is sped up, and you don't, even for backtracking, you don't have to slow to a crawl. And it's also, and to top it off, it's a classic story. I also am usually a fan of that particular art style of Kazuma Kaneko, despite what happened recently. It's a bad story, but I'll just say that I just enjoy basically what the art style was for when he worked at Atlus. He's even responsible for basically, for those who don't know, the entire reason there is the featuring Dante from the Devil May Cry series meme is that back then Capcom struck a deal with Atlus for the PS2 era. Atlus would include Dante in Nocturne, Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne as a cameo boss fight, and in turn Kazuma Kaneko will actually draw the Devil Trigger forms for Dante and Virgil for Devil May Cry 3, which have stuck around since. So that's why they're more elaborate and actually better looking than in the previous Devil May Cry games, because they actually had someone who regularly knew how to draw demons. Anyway, unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be any summoning signs, even with the Ember popped up, so let's move on to the boss fight. It's actually one of the more hard one because we're endgame territory, story-wise.
Another dogged contender. Welcome, unkindled.
The one sitting on top is properly Prince Lothric, the last of the Lords of Cinder. I don't remember who he's voiced by. And unfortunately, he's not alone. He has his brother loyally guarding him, because they want to be left alone. Unfortunately, we have a conflict of interest.
You've done quite enough.
As the description of the other Lords of Cinder says, if the Lords of Cinder do not want to return on their throne normally, we kinda need to give them encouragement. And unfortunately, Lothric has a bit of a tendency of being a nasty supporter of his brother by teleporting him around all the time, meaning that mobility-wise, this boss is a bitch, because it literally teleports in the best way possible to be against you. And you check in the meantime, Glimpse, who voices Prince Lothric? Might as well.
Prince, how do you...
L-O-T-H-R-I-C. Alright, we're gonna give it one more try, and if not, we're gonna give instead one more try.
Harry Lister Smith.
What else did you do?
Let's have a look.
Have a look.
Lothric, Younger Prince. Yeah, Harry Lister Smith.
I did hear this voice somewhere else, if I had to be honest, so maybe it was in Doctor Who. Wouldn't surprise me.
He was in Murder on the Orient Express, the 2017
Oh, the
version.
Kenneth Branagh version. Who was he?
Stockman.
I don't remember his character, I'll need to watch it again.
He was Artemis. He was in Artemis Fowl.
Oh, poor soul.
Playing Italian brother of the groom.
So, during the Sicilian wedding, okay.
Yeah. Most recently, he was in some episodes of Silent Witness.
Okay.
A long-running British drama since 1996.
I mean, what else is new? You told us
That's
that...
the thing that...
sorry.
Yeah, we're not normally associated with long-running dramas that aren't soap operas. He was Gwendolyn in Dark Souls.
Oh, that's why I heard this voice already. Okay.
He was a pilot in Pan.
So, at the very beginning of a movie.
Yeah. And the first credited thing he had was a high jump contestant in the TV show My Dad's the Prime Minister.
What a name.
Quite.
I say. Alright, like I said, let's give it another try. If we don't succeed, we will go, well, whatever we succeed or not, we will go back to Osiris instead, because that's basically our remaining options.
Alright, let's try again.
Again, special mention still has to go to the score because it's so amazing. Like I said, I think it's not just Motoi Sakuraba for this one, but it really is encapsulating because it also has to take into account the whole tragedy of the epoch, because that's also part of the backstory of the two princes, basically. There is a reason why the brothers are very loyal to each other, and instead it's not Lothric, but instead his brother Lorian, the one that is imbued with the flames so far. Uh-oh. Fuck.
Marks our grave, but you may rest here too, if you like.
You're not helping. Yeah, Lothric is one of the few characters that actually give you, defeat quote if you actually die. Alright, let's give one try more to Osiris, and regardless of what happens, we'll call it a day. Let's see. Where was the... There you go. Where we parked last time. I'll try to see if grinding in between parts actually is helpful or not, but I have my doubts. Again, like I said, we're at a good point enough to give it a try with the stats that we have. It wouldn't be, upgrade would be too influential. Although, like I said, while we're taking close to the end of the game normally, and to be fair, we're only missing just a few optional dungeons. There is one we have yet to find with a specific key item for that. There's still both DLC waves to go with. It still shouldn't take too long, but we're not done just yet. The big question for me will actually be deciding what we shall do after this, if we drop straight into Elden Ring or we do stuff like, I don't know, Bloodborne. Again, I'll let you decide. We have enough time for that. Yep. No, where's the lever? There you go. Actually, that reminds me of another thing that I saw at the con that I was surprised that they actually did, but they actually translated in my country the gag manga based on Elden Ring. For those who don't know, while it's not really particularly rare, it's not automatically guaranteed that a lot of properties will actually get not just necessarily non-safe for work doujin, but instead, comedy material that, is still based on the property and is capitalizing technically on it, but wants to have fun with a what-if scenario that is more comedic in tune. Linkara reviewed a couple of years ago a gag manga based on the Ring of Ringu, which is Sadako becoming a YouTuber. It's actually quite hilarious. And there is one based on Elden Ring, where a guy, let's just say that, goes through the events of the game in a particular manner, and I won't spoil that much about it. It is quite hilarious.
Okay.
And they actually did translate that in my country's language. I was really surprised. The only major problem is that it's from a distribution company here that charges stupidly high. To give an idea, already back then, like 10 years ago roughly, I got the entirety of Hellsing, which was 10 volumes. Those were like 5.9 euros back then, which meant 59 for the whole package, almost $60, which, to be fair, for an entire series, it is reasonable if you have a, income and you are passionate enough about the project. But for a teenager, it's basically overkill and suggest that you should buy them one by one. But the same company these days actually selling their shit at like almost $7. It's inflation is not fun, kids. So that's basically what I'm saying. And this company tends to overprice anyway on its own. Especially because most mangas back then, 10 years ago, like I said, tended to charge for like $4.50 at tops, which was more reasonable. Again, it's similar to how superhero comic once, a lot of decades ago used to cost 50 cents. It's almost unbelievable these days.
Dear little Ocelot, where have you gone? Are you hiding from me? Come out.
There's a load of consumed people in this world.
That's part of the thematics of this third game, the fact that we're basically literally at the end of a world map, meaning that a lot of people are rotting or being eroded by time or vegetation.
Mind you, a lot of them kind of come off to be as like they were kind of dicks before.
Yes, it's also a thing of you reap what you sow, the consequences of your own actions and all.
Yeah.
It is a central theme of the entire franchise,
There'll be a dick where you'll go on to be a giant skeleton dragon thing.
Again, like I said, the other part is the fact that this guy actually abandoned his family to be a dragon and having his own imaginary son, being properly raised by that. Jesus. One guy that I have followed for a bit, not a lot, but I still follow occasionally, forgot his name, is basically a guy that has made a proper challenge to actually play these games, the Souls-like game, basing himself of the IGN guides that were released on day one, which means a lot of them have weird strategies and just incomprehensible tips that these days feel more ludicrous, and it's a blast because of that. And
I'm sure it is.
The thing is that they do point out a couple of cheese strategies that people might not have noted. Like, for example, in this fight, there's a specific way you actually may position yourself that actually has the boss being stuck and you can perform range attacks to actually finish him off as a result. Come on, we're almost there.
Cut its tail off.
Sadly, no, that's a mechanic that was only in the first game. I really wish they brought it back, to be honest. Come on, there we go. We're done. Looks like the king has been dethroned.
I think he hasn't been on this throne in a while anyway.
I cannot do one-liners. Solo consumed Osiris, one of the Twisted Souls in strength. Osiris went mad, trying to harness his royal blood for a greater purpose, leading him to the heretics of the Grand Archives, where he discovered the twisted worship of Sif the Pale Drake. If you forgot, one of the lords from the first game, and that's why he turned himself into a dragon. Funniest shit I've ever seen. Let me just use a few minutes that we have to give you a quick peek of what is up ahead. The other, one of the remaining optional dungeons. Something that is quite different from what is expect right after, a poison swamp. There are a lot of people who are dead. Specifically lizard-themed people. Again, Cult of the Dragon and everything. Go. we get here the Path of the Dragon. This is an item that will actually help us unlocking another potential, dungeon, but we will do that probably in the next part, technically. And here's the thing. Oh, actually, well, I guess we can conclude with this. Let's see. Let me pull the binocular. Come on, Dweebs. Is that a mimic?
No.
Shiroi.
Just having a look at this next one. No. We'll say like all three of them have been okay.
Let's go then. Correct. Ding ding ding. And we get more Titanite scale. Let's see what the messages actually say. Illusory wall ahead. Illusion ahead. And could this be an illusion? Because yes, much like in the first game, it actually reveals the entrance to the next dungeon. Which does look ostensibly familiar, and if I recall correctly, the Untended Graves. Which might seem familiar, but since there is a bonfire, that's a good place where we can stop. So, tune in for the next time, where we explore this particular very dark dungeon, and see what we can find, and maybe we find a way to put to good use that Path of the Dragon taunt that we have found. So see you for that.
See ya.
See ya.